The Online Safety Act. The UK say it's protecting children online, but critics say it's something very different: state-backed censorship. Under the Online Safety Act, content that's harmful or age inappropriate can now be hidden, blurred or blocked entirely, even when it's lawful and in the public interest. So what does the law say? Well, the Online Safety Act 2023 came into force really earlier this year in July 2025. It gives Ofcom, the UK's communications regulator, the power to demand that online platforms of any sort have to protect users from so-called harmful content. Now, that includes obvious issues like child exploitation, but it also stretches into ambiguous territory. Things that are likely to be harmful to adults or that might cause psychological distress can mean different things to different people. The problem is that no one really knows what that means, and that vagueness gives platforms a powerful incentive to overcomply, to remove, restrict, censor or hide anything that might be seen as risky. There's a vast scope behind the Online Safety Act, and it grants Ofcom extensive authority to regulate online content against pretty much any platform, with significant financial repercussions for non-compliance. One, an unprecedented reach. Ofcom's regulatory power extends to everywhere, really: social media, search engines, even adult content platforms. And it aims to police a broad spectrum of online activity. There are severe financial penalties that it can inflict on companies. Companies that do fail to comply with the Online Safety Act face substantial fines up to £18 million, which is about 24 million US, or 10% of their global annual revenue, which could be considerably higher for some of the larger companies. There is a problem, though, and I refer you to something that happened just after the Online Safety Act was initially implemented, would like to call it the Gaza example. Here's a report from the BBC. It refers to the fact that Gaza and Ukraine posts were blocked under, in Twitter, or X as it's known. They began hiding videos of Israeli strikes in Gaza and attacks on Ukraine from the Russians, from UK users. Remember, this is a UK law. It's not worldwide, well, yet anyway. These were real, verified clips used by journalists and human rights groups, but there were suddenly plays behind this age gates or blurred as sensitive material. Why? Why did X suddenly start doing this? Well, because showing violence, even in a news context, could be seen as breaching the new safety standards under the Online Safety Act. So while the government claims the Act is protecting children, the effect is actually blocking access to evidence of war crimes. This has happened. This information has been restricted, and it was basically about 2 weeks after the Online Safety Act was implemented. This sort of information is crucial for public accountability, and it's not for companies or governments to decide what we can't see or not. It's not safety, it's just censorship. There's a chilling effect here. Well, this is what free speech groups call it. Basically, because under the Online Safety Act, companies can face multi-million-pound fines. What do? They play it safe. They filter too much. The law is passed, they all have a look at it, and they think, oh gosh. They start to panic. They hide controversial material. They silence smaller voice before even the regulators even have to ask. It's kind of self-censoring, if you like. And then the content disappears. And this is what happens. Fear of punishments make platforms censor themselves. And in the UK, we're making this a law. We're forcing these companies to over-censor information that we could see. Why does it matter globally? Well, you might think it's just UK's problem, and to be honest, it is mostly UK's problem at the moment, but Britain isn't alone. Similar online safety laws are appearing in the EU, Canada, and Australia, and often with the same message: it's about protection. But why should our governments decide what's safe to see? They're also deciding what's not safe for us to talk about. Do you trust your MP to give you this sort of guidance? Because I'm guessing most UK citizens don't. If platforms fear the UK's regulator, they just start applying these restrictions worldwide and effectively will export British censorship rules across the internet. You can think that people say, oh, well, we won't do it in X, Y, or Z. But these rules and laws become pervasive across governments because it's easier for them. Final thoughts. The intention behind the Online Safety Act may be good. Nobody wants children exposed to violent or harmful material. There are lots of other tools that we could do this that we just simply haven't used. Online filters have been around for ages and no parent hardly ever uses them. We could have spent money and we could have put our backing towards those, but no. But once you give the government and tech platforms the power to decide what is acceptable and what's not acceptable, that power rarely stops there. So the question is no longer can we make the internet safer, it's basically who decides what we're allowed to see. And right now in Britain that answer looks much more like censorship than safety. Okay, I hope you found some of this breakdown useful. Give it a like or a share or subscribe if you fancy. If not, just have a great day anyway. Here we will have more explainers on tech, privacy and digital policy every week if we possibly can. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.